Like many nations all over the African continent, the southern nation of Zambia has faced the sadness that the killing of its own beautiful creatures brings. Poaching is the act of illegally hunting or capturing these wild animals, especially when talking about animals or land that is officially declared protected. The poaching epidemic continues all over Africa, but now it has even reached the most remote of communities, such as the Luangwa Valley, which is a sanctuary of sorts, of thousands of elephants and other animals spread over 15,000 square miles. Now, I actually heard about this sanctuary when I was on a safari with my family in India last year, where we learned much about endangered animals all over the planet. Almost the entirety of my family lives in India, and although I don't get to visit them often, one of my favorite things about going there is the inexplicable closeness the people have with the land and the animals who live there. Almost anywhere you go in India, you'll see goats, cows, and even elephants, or other animals depending on where you go. And my family particularly loves to do things like safaris and wildlife exploration. And it is unsurmountably easier to do in a place like India, where the population is so big and the area of land is so small, making it inevitable that animals and people must share the space that they live in. The idea of poaching has always made me angry and sad, emotions I'm sure many other people emulate on the subject as well. But the safari is what inspired me to learn more and to share with you today the amazing things that are happening thanks to the community of the Luangwa Valley. I think it's important to note that although some people may take a softer stance on poaching because they believe it supports these smaller economies, the illegal hunting and killing of innocent and often endangered animals is considered organized crime that has gone so far as to filter down into these smaller communities, preying on those who are financially struggling and sometimes forced to get involved when they're in desperate need of money or whatever their circumstances may be. It has been officially declared a global crisis, and it is a misconception that the black money that comes from these heinous crimes goes towards the communities as a whole, when in fact, illegal poaching is further enabled by the extensive and increased corruption amongst these park rangers and customs officials who are put in charge of protecting the animals and the people, but instead do just the opposite, and are more often than not the ones who truly benefit from the dirty under-the-table money. On the contrary, poaching can further cause larger economic losses to these communities. That see a decline in tourism because it draws negative attention to the dangers of the area where this illegal activity is happening. It is important to know that because only it's important to know this because only then can you really appreciate the efforts being made to bring these crimes to an end. Like in the community of the Luangwa Valley, where the fight for the right to make the important decisions is happening right now regarding poaching, and they don't let bigger agencies or corporations that run out of the bigger cities decide anything for them. And this is what has made the biggest impact. Because if you cut communities out of the conversation, then why should they care? This community took back their power and protecting their home and the beautiful creatures that have been entrusted to them. At any given moment, there are 10 to 12 wildlife teams made up of Luangwa's own people patrolling for illegal poachers. Not to mention that the community is continuously discussing new policies and protection acts with its government to further ensure that the safety of their beloved animals, especially those who are most viciously targeted. Wildlife is abundant in the Luangwa Valley. It has one of the largest concentrations of hippopotamuses in the world, along with elephants, buffalo, big cats, and zebras. But poaching has been a concern for decades. Hunters decimated the entire elephant population and poached rhinos into local extinction. Like I mentioned earlier, there are individuals in this very community who once felt like they had no other choice but to partake in the illegal poaching to put food on the table. One particular gentleman from the Luangwa Valley, Edson Zimba, spent a large portion of his life illegally hunting to provide for his family. But he witnessed firsthand the animal populations shrinking due to not only overhunting of animals such as buffalo and warthogs, but also illegal hunting of endangered elephants and rhinos. In this community, they knew that their own people were struggling, and that changes needed to be made. Groups such as Komako, or the Community Markets of Conservation, worked with people to hand over their guns and pursue alternative livelihoods, such as beekeeping, vegetable gardening, and carpentry, along with farming. Since becoming more active in the protection and growth of their land, the members of this community are receiving funding for these industries, not to mention the growth in microfinance, which, for those of you who may not know, means helping out local small businesses and entrepreneurs in the area. As for Edson, he received carpentry training and hand tools. He and his family also learned new sustainable farming methods, which boosted their yields and meant that they were able to stop buying expensive synthetic fertilizing for farming. I really do hope that one day all of you will get the opportunity to go on a tiger safari in India with your family, or go see the hippopotamuses in the Luangwa Valley National Park in Zambia, Africa. I hope you all get the opportunity, if you haven't already, to see that the world is so much bigger than we know, and that we are not superior to, but in fact equals with the other creatures on this earth. I know it's hard when all you see when you look outside is a street road or a parking lot, but this is still one planet that we all share. And without us humans, this world would still go on. But we'd be hard pressed to survive in a world without the wildlife that truly makes this earth what it is. And it doesn't matter if you were out in the remote parts of nature caring for these animals yourself, or if you were halfway around the world spreading awareness or donating money to aid this amazing cause. You can be part of protecting the Earth's creatures, the true rock stars of planet Earth, from harm too.